We're talking about the potential legislative change for geo-blocking of the New Zealand borders and gambling offshore. Bruce Sharrock, what is NZTR's attitude to that?
Mick, I think in a nutshell, the attitude is we fully support it. It's something that reflects within the 2003 Gambling Act. That act hasn't been reviewed for a long time. I think the evolution of the digital age illustrates that it's not fit for purpose in 2022, and we need to immediately address that.
There would be some people watching this who want to bet with who they want to bet with, who probably aren't aware, Bruce, that this has been a case in Australia for the last 3 years.
Yeah, look, absolutely. And, we've lagged behind it once again. So the time is now for action. We really do need to encourage the government, and I do know that the TAB is working hard with them to bring this to life, and it's something that we fully support.
What sort of money are we talking? I hear figures that offshore gambling firms are taking $650 million away from New Zealand. Are those figures realistic?
Yeah, look, all the information I've had, Mick, is you're spot on. In total, we're talking about $650 million are leaving our shores into foreign operators, whether it be casino or wagering operators for sport and racing wagering. There's about 140 million of that goes into sport and racing, and a further half a billion goes into casino, online casino type wagering offshore.
So what type of money are we talking? We would hope, if this legislation goes through by the government, to retain in New Zealand, and more importantly for the people watching this show, what will that mean to the thoroughbred racing industry?
Yeah, Mick, good question. There's two parts. I think if we can have success around the sport and racing wagering, we're talking substantial transformational amounts of money that can assist our business, which clearly will lead to increased stakes and increased infrastructure improvements. The other part is conditional on the further legislative change that would mean that the TAB and others can now legally perform casino-type gambling here in New Zealand. That's another piece of legislation change altogether, but there is nothing to stop them blocking those people wagering offshore now.
All right, Bruce, people are going to say transformative money. They don't know what that means. People watching Weigh In today don't understand what that means. Give me a ballpark. Give me something which is realistic and something which isn't bullshit, and people at home can go, okay, I now know why these guys want this.
Yeah. Look, and there are many complexities. So, whilst you've asked for a number, I'm going to throw a number out there: circa 100 million profit to the TAB. As a major beneficiary of that, the Thoroughbred Code would look to have 57% of that. That's transformational to our industry, and something that's sadly needed at the moment as we look to try and raise the standard right across the board with our industry.
If this happens and thoroughbred racing can get an extra $57 million a year inside 3 or 4 years, what does it mean for the people watching this show? What are they going to have a better version of?
A raft of things. Look, first and foremost, stakes. I mean, our stakeholders are hungry for more. We know what happens across the ditch. I'm not for a moment going to say we're going to compete in that realm, but we can clearly lift well beyond the 100 million in stakes to make this place something we're immensely proud of and something people can make a very, very good living out of right across the board here in New Zealand.
The question some people would ask is, why hasn't this happened so far? I realise there's a lot more appetite from overseas operators to chase our dollars. Here's a more important question. What happens if it doesn't get legislative change? What happens if the overseas bookmakers and overseas casinos are allowed to unfetteredly play into the New Zealand market?
That's a major concern, and that's the key reason we've got to be acting now. The short version is that the TAB is effectively fending off all sorts of operators who are coming over and picking the eyes out of our wagerers here in New Zealand, and they are not playing on a level playing field. So that's a key reason it's got to be addressed, and addressed immediately. I guess the other one, Mick, is, for our stakeholders, and I weekly know how passionate they are. We have an abandonment, we have a trials meeting with limited entries. We have some extremely passionate people about it. I can tell you now, this is the one reason you need to get very passionate about and get in behind and support this legislative change, because it will underpin our industry.
There would be some people who say, well, don't we have joint ventures with the sports bets and the Bet365ers and Ladbrokes and Entain? If we have joint ventures, aren't we getting enough money back from them regardless?
So by joint ventures, I assume you're meaning race fields. That will continue. Those are Australian people and others wagering on our vision and our form here in New Zealand. That continues. I think the point you might be leading to is the partnering side of this business. There is nothing surer that by geo-blocking our country enhances the value of the TAB and the partnership opportunities they will seek and are seeking if that was to go ahead.
You're going to be dealing with a Labor cabinet and a Labor government on this for the foreseeable future. How important is the harm minimisation? How important is problem gambling and the fact that the TAB puts money into helping that issue in this country and the overseas bookmakers do not put money into this country and helping that? How important is that an issue which could be improved by this legislation?
Mick, again, a really, really key point. The short version is of that 650 million that's leaving our shores, there is not 1 cent captured to enter into harm minimisation schemes. It is a massive benefit to our entire nation that we start to capture the money that's flowing offshore. So again, that point has to be stressed immensely, that by ring fencing the country and retaining that money here means that all of the wagering operators here, TAB, Lotto, casinos, can all put funds back into harm minimisation programs.
You will have mates. I've got mates who like to open their phone and have a bet with overseas betting operators. There's people watching this show right now who do the same. What would you say to those people, and how important an issue is this in the raft of issues facing NZTR?
Mick, I'm not one to get terribly excited, but I've got to tell you right now, this is the most important thing that our industry as a whole needs to mobilise and be vocal about. We need support from the government right now to make this happen. This will underpin our future. This will underpin the 15,000 people that are employed. It will underpin the 1.6 billion that we contribute to the economy. We want to see that grow. We want to see our industry up where it belongs on a global stage. This is the most critical piece of legislation support that, bar none. So we need to get excited about it.
What about the guys and girls who want to have their $20 on with an overseas operator this Saturday because they like the choice or they like the bet types? Is the TAB in a space now where they can offer a good enough service to keep those people interested? Are they doing enough?
Look, the TAB is working hard. They're not there yet. And part of it is chicken and egg, right? So once they stabilise their wagering base, they can then enhance all of their offering and services. The other part of that, of course, is if they do enter into a partnership arrangement, that's the other equation that enters here, is that we will have all of those products and services that are currently being offered around the globe here. But we need to get this piece of legislation across the line first.
Who's on point? Who's on this? Is this you and Cameron George pushing this? Mike Todd from the TAB? Have you spoken to the Minister about this, and what is his appetite for this?
Look, the board as a whole is completely behind this. We've had meetings with the Minister, we've had meetings with the TAB numerous, and look, everybody is supportive of it, but I think it's time that as an industry we cannot sit idle and watch this pass by. This is critical, and it's something we need to get in behind and make sure that our fact and the facts are known from our industry perspective.